Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, into the studios, our good friend, Chris Dixon, and Chris is with Liberty Church. Most of you would know that. If you're just joining us today and you never met Chris, Chris, tell them a little bit about yourself, about your family.
I'll do so. I'm, again, Pastor Chris Dixon, Liberty Church, and I've got a great family, a wonderful family. I have 3 children, but now they're all grown. I know I look too young to have grown children, but they're all grown. I've got one son that's working towards his master's in theology at Liberty University, and then I've got a daughter that's doing her doctorate degree in physical therapy. She's in her last year. And then I've got another daughter, my oldest, that just graduated, and she got her master's in speech pathology, and she just graduated and is launching out in her career. And she's married, so now I've got a son-in-law, and so it's exciting days around the Dixon household.
You have a lovely wife.
I do have a beautiful wife. I figured the kids kind of gave that away, but I do have I'm telling you, a partner in ministry, in life. I'm blessed that I can honestly say my wife is my best friend in the world, and we've been married since really we were kids, and so I'm extremely blessed.
Yeah. Tell us about your parents.
Yeah, I've got, I'm one of those that's been very blessed in life. I have a great mom and a great dad, both been spiritual leaders for me, but have also been, just character development. I mean, just, really invested in my life, been there. And that is a blessing. I think it's a great responsibility for me as well, just for the fact that they did lay such a foundation for me. I think it's one of the things that sparks the desire that I have to influence people, to influence marriages and families, is because the foundation that my parents laid for me. I'm an extremely blessed guy to have the mom and dad that I've got.
You grew up in North Georgia.
I did. I grew up in Dalton, Georgia, and my whole family's from there. I'm one of the few that got out. Myself and one cousin. Everybody else actually still lives in that Dalton, Chatsworth, Georgia area, and so that's where my wife's family's from. My family's from. That's all of our roots are back in the North Georgia mountains.
Yeah. So when you go back home, so to speak, and you're up there, and you go by places and you think about your youth and you think about those experiences.
Yeah.
What are some of those that are very common to you? Some of those maybe lessons that you learned, and when you go back there and you see those landmarks and you feel that emotion, you go back to that church.
Yeah. Well, number one, I'm a mountain boy. I can tell you that right now. The hardest thing on me of living in Dublin, Georgia, which is a great city, it reminds me a lot of Dalton when I was growing up, but I'm a mountain boy. So every time I go home, the number one thing I miss is, some people would call them hills, I guess if you live out west, but they are mountains to me. And so that's the big thing as far as the scenery that I miss. But I was so very blessed. My dad had 4 brothers. So I grew up around men. I grew up around some strong men, but good men, just good character guys. I've been extremely blessed in my life. With Father's Day coming up, it does bring it into my memory that I had some great role models in my family that made mistakes, but man, there were men that owned their mistakes, very vocal about what they learned through the mistakes that they made, and I had some rebellious teen years, even though I was raised in a great family. But I really believe that the foundation that they laid, I had men that would confront me. I didn't just get it from my dad; I got it from uncles, I got it from everybody, because we were just a close-knit family. And so looking back, just their character, their investment in my life. I think that plays a big role in the person that I am today. I think having that male role model, that male influence, and again, I have a wonderful mother, praying mother, who prayed for me. My mom was one of those that, she would put verses. She wasn't overly vocal, but she would put verses on the refrigerator. So every time as I was growing up, whatever I was struggling with, there would be those verses on the refrigerator you would have to read. But now my dad and my uncles were vocal, and they really spoke into my life, spoke wisdom into my life. And of course, the older you get, looking back, you're able to go back and see your mistakes, but where people spoke into your life, gave you wisdom, and those are big components to me.
Yeah. Do you believe a lot of times, Chris, that people hold their tongue on stuff like that maybe, fathers to sons or uncles or maybe someone outside the family who knows an issue's going on but might just say, gosh, I wish things would get better. But, again, you think people hold their tongue? Do you think it's so important to share that?
Well, I definitely think it's very important, and I know that some do and then some don't. But you don't know what you don't know, and we have to remember that. I mean, what you don't know, you don't know. And we have to remember too that one of the things that I like to say when it comes to parenting, and really not even just parenting, but raising the next generation, because we all have a responsibility in that. Because I mean, truth of the matter is, even if a child doesn't have the foundation that it needs at its home, they're still going to become a part of society. So society owes it to make an investment, whether it be through our school system, which we see all the time, whether it be through our local, care ministries and involvement ministries, or whether it be our local churches. We have a major responsibility to do those kinds of things, is to lay that foundation of trying to teach people and invest in people. And so I do think that it's majorly important that we do become more vocal in character issues, more vocal in what an effective life is. Because again, you don't know what you don't know. I look back over my life, and there's only two ways we really learn. You think about your life, and you'll agree with this. You either learn through pain, or you learn through teaching. Hopefully, and boy, it's a prayer for me, I'd rather learn through your mistakes than make those mistakes, because mistakes are painful. Yeah. So I would rather hear from you and learn from it so I could avoid it. And the only other way to learn is to make the mistake and then have to pay for the pain. So being vocal protects lives and helps a lot of people to not have to go through the things we've gone through.
Yeah, excellent. We're speaking with Chris Dixon, pastor at Liberty Church. We'll take a short break and be right back. It's time for real help and real solutions. Steel Dealer Days are here. With a limited time pricing on select steel equipment, there's no better time than now to visit Cullen Supply and Engine Service. Right now, save $20 off the MS-170 chainsaw, or choose from any of our hard-working grass trimmers, starting at just $129.95. When you buy the BGA 56 battery blower set, you save $30 off the FSA 56 battery trimmer. Get them both for only $319.90. Steel has equipment that you need to get the job done. Visit Cullen Supply and Engine Service, 910 East Jackson Street in Dublin, 826 Harris Street, Sandersville. You can count on Cullen's. Jet Food Stores is proud to partner with Marathon Petroleum. And right now you can save 40 cents a gallon off the first fill-up just by texting Jet Food to 40244 with the Make It Count loyalty program. And save 5 cents a gallon every time you visit your neighborhood Jet Food Store branded Marathon. Brand new fuel pumps and Marathon's high-quality fuel using STP additives will help your car run smoother and last longer. Stop in today and make sure you text Jet Food to 40244 right now and start saving. Jet Food Stores and Marathon, a winning combination. All right, and here we are again with Chris Dixon. We're talking a little bit about Father's Day, and we talk about our Father in heaven, and many people, kind of get distant on that. They don't quite understand it, and I think a lot of times people who try and share we miss the mark as believers sometimes in not starting with love.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bible's so clear. The Bible says that we're to speak truth in love, and you really can't separate the two. I mean, scripturally, if you really study the Bible, there is no separation between truth and love. I mean, number one, the Bible teaches that it's God's nature to love. God doesn't just love. I mean, it's His nature. He cannot not love. And yet we know that God is truth. So you cannot separate truth and love. And I think that's a key component. I think that, we've heard the old saying many times, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And I think that we definitely have to show people that we do care. And I think the number one way we show people we care when we're trying to teach is we show them our vulnerabilities. I was taught in preaching, and I could name the person, but I was taught when I was coming up and just beginning to preach and get into ministry that it's really important that I use my personal life story in my preaching, because it shows them if I'm willing to open up my life and say, hey, this is the struggles that I've had, the difficulties that I've had, where I had to learn that lesson, then it shows people that, look, I'm not just coming at you trying to tell you what to do, but I'm backing that up with the reasons and the understanding of why I'm telling you what to do.
Yeah, help me out with that word, vulnerable.
Well, vulnerability just means that you let people in. I mean, you let people see. We live in a society today where we live behind masks. Social media. You get the moment. You get the snapshot of everything's great. I love to joke about that at Liberty because 20 pictures to get the one picture everybody posts,
Yeah.
the argument before the freeze and the frame.
Yeah.
But we need to let people know we have so much reality TV, so much media today. If we're not careful, people begin to believe the lie and they think something's wrong with them because of what they're seeing. Their life's not matching up to that.
Yeah.
And we have to be careful with that.
Yeah, and the guy, like you say, the family, the girl, the woman, the young man who seems to have it all together, who seems to just be popular and okay, and have their life in order when they share that vulnerability, or at whatever level you are.
Absolutely.
Because everybody's vulnerable. Everybody
Absolutely.
sins.
One of the things that I shared the other day at the church, and that is that, they've been tracking social media in the lives of teenagers. And of course, they don't have all the data because we just don't have enough time, but they have found that depression amongst teenagers is up 33%, and suicide is up 65% since the introduction of social media. And part of that really is the fact that we're lacking vulnerability. People are looking at something that is not, look, I heard Adrian Rogers used to say a half-truth is a whole lie. And when you see half-truths of someone's life and someone's everything's great, everything's wonderful, it's really a whole lie. It's not giving the picture that, hey, everybody has doubts, everybody has fears, everybody has insecurities that they have to wrestle with and learn and confront. And, I often say the Bible, I think the reason the Bible is so impactful is because it's the greatest psychology book in the world. It deals with our fears, our anxieties, our issues, our doubts, our concerns, our struggles. And when you get in there and you start saying, well, man, David had that, and Moses had that, and all these great men had that, it helps us to understand, well, look, it's not about the struggle. We all are going to struggle. It's about getting the wisdom and instruction needed to confront the struggle and overcome the struggle. But we all have the struggle.
Yeah, and it's those, I believe, from personal experience, that can get into the Bible, that if you will commit to read it for 30 days, if you'll find the one, as you mentioned before, the Bible you should choose is the one you best understand, the one you'll read. So
Absolutely.
Get one and read it.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. Yesterday I was studying, and one of the things I was doing is talking about teachability on Sunday, the need for us to be teachable in order to impact our relationships. We're closing out a relationship series, and I'm closing out with just being teachable. But that's one of the things that Proverbs deals with. When you read the book of Proverbs, really, and even the wisest man to ever live, Solomon, according to the Bible, it talks about get instruction and get wisdom above all else. I mean, it is really saying that life is about this pursuit of gaining wisdom and instruction of how we handle the struggles, the challenges, the difficulties of life. Of course, then the Bible acknowledges the fact that where you get that instruction, where you get that wisdom is from the Word of God, being in the Word of God, allowing it to speak to your life, speak to your circumstances. I even said in Sunday's message, this past Sunday's message, it amazes me that people say, well, the Bible's so unpractical and I don't understand it. And let me say, hey, number one, we're dealing with God when we're dealing with the Bible. So to think that we would understand everything in it would be foolishness. I mean, let's face that. But there is so much practicality. And I will finish Sunday 13 weeks on relationships. So we did 13 messages on relationships. Every one of them straight out of the Bible. Here's what the Bible says about it. But it doesn't get any more practical because it's connecting. Here we are thousands of years later, and we're still having the same struggles, same issues, and really still the only thing that works is the same solutions. It's just crazy to see.
So, when we read there's nothing new under the sun, there's nothing new on earth that's going on that didn't go on as far as the relationships.
Absolutely.
And of course, there's inventions and there's things
Well,
like
you think about this. I mean, look, envy's a struggle that everybody's got, and all these inventions have just created greater envy. So all of the struggles are still what they were. We just have greater resources to make us be challenged by it in many ways.
Yeah. We'll take another short break and be back with Chris Dixon. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Matt Sapp, inviting you to come see us at Dexter Meat Company. Our fresh cut meats include cube steak, stew beef, chuck roast, chuck eye steak, ground beef, ground chuck, and if you love steaks, you'll really love our New York strip, T-bone, and our ribeye and choice or prime cuts. And our marinated steaks have a distinctive taste that you'll be sure to love. We invite all our neighbors to come see us for the freshest cut of meat. Remember, we cater to. Call ahead and we'll have it fixed for you. Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturday, 8 to 6.
When it's time to purchase your next major appliance, there's one thing you'll want to remember.
If you can't do business here, you just can't do business.
Washers, dryers, refrigerators, freezers, air conditioners. That's right, hot weather's on the way, and Hometown Supply carries many major brand names of window units. Check out the complete line of used washers, dryers, refrigerators, and freezers. If almost like new is right for you, see the warehouse full of used appliances at Hometown Supply. Take it from Glenn Register, owner of Hometown Supply in downtown Dublin.
We give warranty with everything. New and new. Fix it or replace it. We take it out, set it up, do the financing on it, payment where you can handle it. You can get whatever you want and just about name your game. We're very lenient. We work with you. We know problems arise, but we can work through it. We give warranty with everything.
See the man with the plan, Glenn Register. Call 272-0345 for more information.
If you can't do business here, you just can't do business.
And then once again, we're here with Chris Dixon. We're talking about Father's Day and relationships and vulnerability and being able to share with that person in your life. And to be a father role model, to be a role model for a man or woman, a young man, a young woman, you don't have to necessarily be the father, but we're going to talk about vulnerability in your life and some things when you look back at your kids. Let's talk about a few things you feel comfortable with, you did well.
I got you. Number one, I loved them. I think one of the great goals of my life as a dad is I just wanted them to know that there was a fun side. I wanted to have fun with my kids. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things that I would say to every family is, the stress levels are up, the distractions are out there. Mm-hmm. Everybody's trying to get their kids into everything. And if we're not careful, we overcommit our time and don't give it to the right things. We need, to plan fun. And so one of the things that my wife did so well, that I tried to do so well, was we planned a lot of fun with our kids. Secondly, we were real with our kids. We confronted the challenges that they would have. My testimony, and my wife's 16, I'm 19 when we get married, and just all the challenges within a year, headed for divorce. And so we knew the mistakes that we made and how costly they were, and how many years it impacted our lives, even after you're making a mistake as a teenager. Yeah. And so we were very open with them. We wanted to, I really wanted to give my kids the biblical answers to the challenges of life. So we confronted sex, drugs, alcohol, all the things that kids are going to get confronted with nowadays at 11 and 12 and 13 years old. And so, we really try to do a good job of that, interacting with them. James Dobson did a study, and I read a book on it, and it really challenged me. But he found that families who would sit down at a dinner table 4 times a week and have dinner together but have meaningful conversation, they found that 90% of those kids didn't have sex before marriage, didn't get involved in alcohol, didn't get involved in drugs. Well, that spoke to me. Yeah. Luckily, I read that when my kids were very young. So we minimum, and we did more, but minimum 4 nights around the table, I would say to my kids what was good. I wanted them to know that every day they could find a positive. And then I would say to them what was bad. And I did that so that I could speak to what the Bible might say to what's bad in their life. Yeah. So those are some things that we did well. We made mistakes. I want to make sure I get that out there. There are many times I had to go back to my kids and say, boy, I didn't handle that like I should have.
You did what?
Yeah, I would go to them and say, and I learned that from other people. I tell people all the time, man, I'm so grateful for the people that invested in my life, which goes back to having those people that invest in your life. Mm-hmm. But I had to go back and say I'm sorry, and I overreacted or overpunished or whatever it may be, and just to say, hey, we don't always get it right, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's difficult for a lot of people to do, to admit they're wrong. Obviously, we get self-centered and we think, we're the ultimate authority over our children. Sure. But let's get real. Sometimes we make mistakes, and it's those times when you go to that child that you love, and
in a major way, it builds trust, because then they know when you don't come back, hey, that they think, they may not agree with you all the time, but they think that they were right in what they did. So when you come back and apologize, it shows them that, hey, if I feel like I get it wrong, I will come and say, I felt like I got that wrong. And so we, that's something that we tried to do as well, that I think made a difference and stuff. And hey, look, everybody's going to make mistakes. I mean, everybody's going to blow it. The key component is giving them the resources and the things that they need to be able to learn from their mistakes. And we try to give them information before they make mistakes, again, to save them the pain. But just learning to coach and invest. And, one thing that you said that when I was doing my study on relationships I came across and thought was so great was, you made the statement, you don't necessarily have to be the father or even the mother to make such a great investment. Just that they found that really what makes the difference in a adolescent's life as they're coming up is not necessarily, it doesn't have to be the mom, doesn't have to be the dad. It can be a coach. And I'm so grateful for our coaches and the investment that they make in our community. It can be a community leader, somebody's just involved in the community helping people. But they found that the key component to an adolescent growing up and developing and finding success in character and judgment and decisions is they just need somebody that's teaching, coaching, and investing in their life as they're growing up and developing. And so I think that's such a good lesson to us that, hey, it would be great if we all had the model that God gave us, which is the family and mom and dad and all those kinds of things. But the key component is having someone to make that investment, And so, man, it just reminds us of how grateful, and I know you guys do such a good job here of how grateful we are for all of the people in Lawrence County and in Dublin that make such an investment in our students' lives as they're coming up and developing.
Yeah, it's crucial, isn't it? And what you're saying, Chris, is it's okay to mess up.
Absolutely. It better be, because we all mess up, I guarantee you.
And it's never too late for a relationship, is it?
No, I mean, that's the, obviously that gets into forgiveness and a willingness to, to become vulnerable. See, forgiveness is a vulnerable place because, if I'm going to extend forgiveness, I'm vulnerable to, are you going to respond right or wrong?
Right.
And so it deals with a lot of things, but it's not too late. I mean, look, some of the greatest, I know this to be true, some of the greatest parenting lessons that I learned when my kids were young and I was making that investment were from men in our church that felt like they had blown it with their kids. And they were coming into my life saying, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. Yeah. But they had blown it in their own mind, but they were investing in me, helping me to become
Now,
better.
why do we feel that way? What makes us feel that we're a failure, we can't do it right?
Well, I think, number one, I think we do lack information a lot of times. I mean, think about this, you go to school and they teach you math, teach you English, they teach you how to balance textbooks and all this kind of stuff. But often, did you ever take a parenting class when you were coming up in high school, getting ready to go, or college classes or whatnot? I mean, we don't get the training that we need often, and I think that makes us a little intimidated by it as far as, just fearful of making a mistake or over-parenting. I think, you see people who over-parent, you see people who under-parent, and what's the balance? Yeah. But that's why it's so important that we as parents become teachable, that we try to learn. One of the things that I'm going to talk about, and I really don't understand this, and I don't mean it in a judgmental way, but I read parenting books. I read marriage books. I mean, that's teachability. The Bible, seek instruction, seek wisdom, because we don't get those resources. And so that's why I always like to say I don't ever want to come off like, oh, he knows something, because 99.9% of what I learned, I read, I studied guys that knew more than I did. Yeah. But I do think that we have to become teachable, and teachability puts us in the place for healthy relationships, because it helps us to overcome that insecurity, fear. I don't know what the best word is because it's different for everybody. Sure. But gives us the confidence to be able to say, I'm going to try this. I'm going to move forward and try to make it better in any relationship that I'm in.
And one thing we know, Chris, the devil will tell us that we can't overcome things, that we are a failure, that
absolutely,
you're stuck with the sin you can't overcome that. Yeah. And we know we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my favorite statements, I've got a pastor that says often, making a mistake is not ignorance. Making a mistake is human. It's not ignorance, it's human. We all make mistakes. Where ignorance begins to come into play is when you make the same mistake over and over and over again, because then that's saying that you're not learning. And so, don't ever, look, everybody blows it. Everybody makes mistakes. And the key component is, do we learn from it? And if you learn from it, if you can step back and say, I wish I would have done that, and I wish I would have done this, or whatever it may be, then that's learning. And man, that's wisdom. Wisdom is learning. And so that's what I would say to anybody that feels that way is, everybody blows it, everybody makes mistakes. Some people hide it better than others, but everybody does it. And the key component in life is just learn from it. If you feel like you've blown it, I mean, even if you've lost 5, 10 years in a parenting relationship or whatever, you go back and you acknowledge that, man, I blew it. I'm sorry. I wish it wouldn't have went this way. And if they reject you, Romans teaches that as much as it depends upon you, live at peace with all men. I can't control how you respond to me, but I can control how I respond to you. And so, you just come back and do the best you can. And there's no such thing as final failure as long as you keep trying. I mean, there's really not. I mean, if you keep trying, every try you're going to learn. Every time you read something, listen to a message, listen to a podcast, whatever, you're developing, you're processing, and then you just try to put what you're learning into practice, and sooner or later you get better at it.
Yeah. So here we are, Father's Day. You're going to call your father up. What do you tell him?
Number one, I want to make sure that he knows how much I love him, how grateful I am for him. And I do think that it's good, to, especially, I'm getting older, it's, my dad's the only one left, so all 4 of those uncles have all passed in the last couple of years, so in the last 24 months. All 4 of my uncles have passed away, and I am so grateful for the investment they made in my life. And when you go through those kinds of things, I think it's important that we try to think of things that they have taught us and communicate it. I really try to communicate to my dad how much I appreciate the advice he gave me that was unwanted when I was younger. My dad is, he's never been afraid to say, hey, you're going to do what you're going to do, but here's what I think you should do. And it's been grateful. And I haven't always done it, and he hasn't always been right. I mean, really and truly, he hasn't always been right, but he's always been willing. And I'm telling you, I am who I am today because of that willingness. And so I always try to make sure he knows that I would not be who I am nor where I am if it wasn't for his investment in my life.
Yeah. Thank you for what you're doing in the community. 3 services now.
Yes, sir. We're doing 9 o'clock and then 10:20 and 11:35.
Yeah.
And so all those happening on Sunday morning. If you don't have a church home, we would love for you to join us at any one of those services. We've got all kinds of things going on every Sunday for the family. We've got a big day for Father's Day, a lot of giveaways, some fun things for dads, and a great message, I think, as we end our relationship series towards the family, not just dad, but towards the family. Really excited about what I'm going to be sharing Sunday.
Yeah, you guys do a lot for youth on Sunday evenings. You feed
We
into
do.
youth.
They have a full-blown service just for our teenagers, 6th grade through 12th grade.
Yeah.
Things happening for them, about an hour and a half that they have going on Sunday night. And our students are off at camp this week. We've got a big group of students off just investing a week and learning and developing. And so a great time for them this week.
Yeah. We hope everyone has a great weekend, a great Father's Day. If you don't have a father, choose a father around you and love on them. If there's someone that you know of that you should reach out to, I'm sure the Lord will lay it on your heart. Chris, as always, thank you again for what you do, for joining us, for what you do in our community.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks for having me. So grateful for what you guys do and just giving us the opportunity to speak in the community, let them know that, rooting for our community, I would love it if we could become a model to all other cities of, investing in lives, seeing people grow, develop, become who God intended for us to be.
All right. Thanks for joining us right here on TV 35.